Welcome back. In the last lesson we blocked out the pants, and in this lesson we're going to start adding some detail and continue shaping it and adding in some wrinkles towards the end. So we've got a little bit of a gap right here. Let's go ahead and address that first. Let's come back to 1 on the keyboard and just grab some vertices here. W on the keyboard, just move those forward as well as down. Get those resting right up against there. And we're going to be adding a couple edge loops around here, so that'll kind of help fill in this little gap we have. Pulling that forward. Okay. And we can probably drop this down just a little bit. All right, and let's go ahead and kind of widen this area out right here. So we'll just scale it in. Same thing here. And we can probably do that in the back here as well. Okay. And since we've got a little angle right here, we're not going to be able to just drop in an edge loop. It's not going to wrap around the way we want it, so we're going to have to draw that in with a split polygon tool. I've currently got my snap magnet down to 0. I'm going to set it back at 1. Okay. And let's go ahead and start up here, kind of working our way around. Enter on the keyboard. So again, I'm just going to do this on one side, and we'll just kind of come back and cut this in half once we get to a point over here where we want to copy it over and take a look at it. Let's go ahead and merge these vertices here that created the triangles. So just shift clicking on both of those, merging the vertices. We'll do the same thing in the back here. Okay, and we could probably raise this point up now, as well as bring it out. Let's kind of look at our drawing right here, kind of follow the edge. All right. Okay, and bring that in just a little more as well. And let's go ahead and shape the front now. So we can drag this over. This has come down just a little too low. Okay. It's the inside of our leg on the back side that I'm grabbing. All right, that looks about right. Come out here and take a look at that. Probably pull this up just a little higher. And we can grab this point and bring that around to the side a little more. Same thing with this one. Kind of space those out a little bit more evenly. Okay. And we could probably pull this point up as well. And the ones in the center, I'm going to actually lower those down now, just a little bit. And we're probably going to have to cut this in half now and mirror it over just to get an idea of what it's looking like. Let's go ahead, before we do that, let's put our cuff down here. So let's create an edge loop at the bottom. Q on the keyboard to end that. Let's grab the faces all the way around there and extrude that once. And I'm just going to increase the thickness to 0.1, I think is enough. Q on the keyboard to get out of that. And let's put some edge loops around the bottom here. So a couple around that bend there. One here. I'm going to just drop one in the center here. And with that still selected, I'm going to scale up on it a little bit just to round it out. touch. Okay, and drop one down here on the bottom as well. 2 on the bottom there. And we're going to need another edge loop right here for that angle, as well as the knee. So let's go ahead and drop one in here for the knee. And we'll need one right about here. We can come to our side view and kind of shape that. Q on the keyboard. Just grab those vertices and scale them in a little bit. Pull them forward. And we can grab all of these, kind of shift them up just a little bit. I think these ones in the back can probably come up just a little higher. Okay. And I'm just looking at the angles back here, how these are spaced. I think I'm going to just drag this one around the front a little bit more, just to round out the back part of the leg. And bring this one down here. Okay, so that's starting to shape up. Let's create a little bit of an angle right here for that. Okay, pull the knee forward a bit. Okay, and we could probably angle this just a little bit as well. There we go. All right, let's come back out to our front view. Check things out. It's gotten a little narrow through here. We can just grab a couple of these, pull them out a little bit. There we go. And let's go ahead and cut that in half now. Just kind of checking down here one last time. So I'm going to select the faces and just come up the center here, taking off that side. And these are off just a little bit now. You can see that gap there. So let's grab the vertices all the way up here. And we should probably delete the history on here. We've got a lot of history running on it. Let's go ahead and delete the history. And we can freeze our transformations as well. Zero everything out. Okay, and let's grab the vertices now. Scale them. So that flattened everything out, but they are still not quite touching the center origin there. So W on the keyboard to move it. Hold down the X key and just snap it over there to the center. And this is our icon out here for mirroring geometry. If you want to put that out there, if you haven't done so already, that's the bottom one down here, mirror geometry option box. Make sure you grab the option box because we're kind of going back and forth from positive to negative X. In this case, we're using negative X. So I'm just hitting mirror. And we can come over here, adjust the threshold to 0.01. In this case, we probably don't need to worry about it. Our geometry is spaced pretty far apart. But if we come out here, hit 3 on the keyboard, we can start to get a little bit better idea of what he looks like. That's starting to shape up nicely. So let's address some of these little areas that are kind of sticking out a bit too far. His cheeks back here. Kind of pull those in a little bit. Same thing with these points here. Pull them in a little as well. And he's got kind of a sharp edge here. We've kind of lost a little bit of that shape right there. Let's come back here to 1 on the keyboard. And let's insert an edge loop. Okay, and if we hit 3 on the keyboard now, it should start holding that edge a little bit better there. So we're going to pull some of the points down here. Let's grab these, move them down. And we'll check our front. And he's kind of grab some of these points right here in the front, bring them down just a little bit. Same thing here. That's just the center one I grabbed. Okay, and he's gotten a little too narrow. Let's go ahead and widen him up. So all the way across the top here, I'm just hitting R on the keyboard. We're going to scale him back up a little bit. Here we go. Okay, so you can see the angle we're getting now here after adding that edge loop. These 2 points here could probably come down just a little. Okay. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Let's come down here and take a look at his knees. And again, he's still a little thin over here. Let's grab this whole side right here and kind of drag it out a little bit just to widen him up like the picture. And do the same thing here. Widen that up a little bit. There we go. Okay, this whole bottom part right here can come out just a little bit more. All right, so he's got kind of a crease coming down the front here. Okay, so let's come out here and we're going to create that pleat now down the front, the crease, using our split polygon tool. Let's make sure we're in 1. And it kind of runs at an angle, so I'm going to start it here at the bottom part of the knee and drop it down here, coming all the way down the front here and ending it on the bottom. Enter on the keyboard. Okay, so we can grab that edge right now, double click on it and pull that forward. Okay, so we've got that, and it's sort of angling down just a little bit right there. So let's grab the vertices here on the bottom and pull those up. Make sure we don't have anything selected on the back side. There we go. And we're going to go ahead and add an edge loop in there, which is going to stop right there at that triangle. So we've got one on that side, and we can drop another one in over here, kind of doing the same thing. So starting here at the base, I'm just going to draw a triangle right there, hit enter, and then I'm going to insert another edge loop right here, and Q on the keyboard, and then I'm going to shift and double click on that. So I've got both of those edges, and as I begin to pull them together, it's going to create that crease that we want. And we're probably going to want to pull these out as well. Probably pull them out quite a bit and really get a nice angle there. Okay. So the closer these are together, the more extreme that crease is going to be. So let's hit 3 on the keyboard and see what it's starting to look like. Okay, so it's starting to form right there. And I might just grab a couple of areas and have them crease a little bit more, maybe down here towards the bottom. And if I grab the vertices here, and kind of scale them back a little bit. Okay. And this area is getting pulled out quite a bit now, so I'm going to just grab that and kind of tuck it back in here a little. So all these vertices, I'm just kind of pushing them back in a little, and I'm going to relax that area right here by scaling them out. And kind of tucking it back in. We're going to start forming the knee right here. Okay. So I've got another triangle right here that I'm kind of dealing with. Okay, let's come back to 1 on the keyboard. And we're going to start inserting some edge loops around here. We've got some geometry that's kind of tucked back in there a little bit further than I'd like. So I'm going to just kind of come out here. This is 3 on the keyboard, so I can kind of see where it's going. And I'm going to go ahead and start down here and draw up and over. And we can end that right down here. Okay. Okay, so with these 2 triangles, what we're going to do is make our first, we'll come back and kind of address this end-on in a moment. We're going to insert our first edge loop right here to create a fold in the back. Okay, and I'm going to scale it first, kind of bring it in, and then tuck it in like that. So starting to create some folds back here, the back side of the knee. Okay. Okay, and let's come in here and we're going to just merge these 2 vertices right here and get rid of that end gone. Okay, and kind of pull that in there for the knee. And this point's coming in just a little too far. It's starting to disappear when we come back to 1 on the keyboard. All right, so I've got sort of a pull going on here with a triangle as well. So again, we're going to start redirecting the topology here. And let's go back to 1 on the keyboard. See that a little bit better. And let's go ahead and kind of create another fold back here. So since we've already got a triangle right here, we're going to draw one underneath this side. And we're going to have to double click on this, go into the tool settings, and with snap magnet, turn that to 0. Go ahead and close that. That way we can position it where we want it. So right about here. Coming all the way around. And ending it right about here. Okay. And we can come back and delete this edge in here and double click on this edge. It goes all the way around. And here we're going to have to merge these 2 vertices as well. So like we did on the other side, and delete this edge. Just kind of mirroring what we did on the other side. Double click on this edge, and I like to scale them in first and move it down a little bit, as well as kind of pulling it in. Okay. And I like to kind of angle them a little bit, just so they're not all going in the same direction. Do the same thing here and angle that. Okay. All right, so we might be able to add one more wrinkle up here. So let's go ahead and start up here, drawing around and ending back here. And we'll go ahead and insert an edge loop right there. Hit R on the keyboard, scale it in, W, and kind of push it in and down. Okay. And we could probably pull some of these edges out just a little bit. Probably pull this one out, get a little bit bigger fold in there. Okay. And this point is still sticking out just a little too far. I'm going to go ahead and kind of tuck that back in here and space these out just a little bit more. There we go. As well as push them back and down. Okay, so let's go ahead, come back to object mode, 3 on the keyboard. Kind of take a look at our initial folds that we have here on the back side. So they're looking pretty good. So they're still a little soft, and if we start moving the edges a little closer together, we'll get a crisper looking fold. So Grab those and push them down. Okay. And I like to kind of make them uneven. Makes them look a little bit more natural. All right, so it's starting to look good. Push this one down in here, back. All right, so you can kind of move some of those points around and create some interesting curves back there. I'm going to kind of leave it at that for mine. Come up here and we can add a couple little wrinkles along the top of the thigh. Kind of the same technique, so back to 1 on the keyboard. And I'm just going to kind of straighten this out a little bit. Okay, and probably pull this point down just a little. Create a little bit more space in there. Same thing here. Okay, so I'm going to use my split polygon tool again. And starting, I can probably start it clear over here on the side of the leg. And draw around. And end it back here. Hit enter on the keyboard. And then use our insert edge loop tool, coming in here in the center. And we'll scale it uniformly. Pull it in a little bit, maybe down. And let's create one more underneath here. The same technique. So our edge loop tool, starting here on the side. And coming all the way around to the back side. Enter on the keyboard. And probably pull this vertice down here a little bit. There we go. And our edge loop tool. Dropping an edge loop in there, scaling it down, and moving that kind of back and in. And let's come back out here, hit 3 on the keyboard, take a look at that. So these are still a little soft looking. Let's come here and kind of reshape them. This one's kind of in just a little too far. So let's pull that out and down. All right, that's starting to look a little better. I think maybe these can all come up a little bit. That's kind of a large sort of wrinkle right there. I'm going to pull all of these up. All right. And again, we'll probably add a little more detail around here when we take this into Mudbox. We can sculpt out some more kind of finer wrinkles in the cloth. But I kind of like to get some initial ones in there. All right, so those are looking pretty good. You can see them wrapping around up the back side a little. Okay. And the last area that we're going to do, we're just going to kind of create a little bit of folding down here using the same process. So back to 1 on the keyboard. Got our split polygon tool. And kind of wrapping that around here. And we'll insert an edge loop and scale it down. Bring it in, kind of drop that down low, and we can angle it a little bit. All right, just so it's not going straight across. And let's do another one here on top. Starting here and coming around to the other side, finishing it off there. And you want to make sure that your vertices are connecting here and not floating out there. Let's insert another edge loop, scale it down, and bring it in. We'll push it down here for a little bit harder edge, and we can angle this one probably in the opposite direction that we had that one, just to make it a little more interesting. Okay. And if we hit 3 on the keyboard, we can start to see some of that working. All right. So you kind of got the idea of how the folds work. So go ahead and kind of work with those and kind of make it look like the weight of it is sort of falling down. If you want to add one more down here, you can probably go ahead and do that. Starting from this point here, you can go around, insert another one. And I kind of like to come in and sort of grab some individual ones and kind of push them in and down and kind of create some areas where the cloth is sort of kind of resting and being weighted down by itself. Okay. So once you have that complete, go ahead and cut that in half again, the faces, as we've done in the past. You'll just grab everything on the side, delete it, and mirror it over. And we'll come back into the next lesson and begin working on a shoe.